may be extremely daunting. When we're scrolling down and down and down and the data just never seems to stop. Now you may be getting despondent and wonder where on earth do you start? But there's no need to worry. In this lesson, we'll be exploring conditional formatting. And this will help you to sort efficiently and effectively through your data. Now we will also discover a formula that will really come in handy. So let's jump straight into this information-packed lesson of Excel. Today's topic, nifty nesting. For this lesson, we have three main objectives. So first we'll start off by exploring advanced conditional formatting. Then we'll move on to discover the logical data which is applied to a Netflix file. And last, but not least, we'll use that offset function and it can be integrated into data validation. So now there's lots to learn. Jumping into conditional formatting. In today's lesson, we'll be looking at lifelike data. But before that, we need to emphasize that we need to make sure we really understand every single variable within our files. But by variable, I mean every column. This rule applies when you start new work, specifically with a new file. Before even trying to write a report, we need to understand exactly what the data is telling us. So do you like movies and series? In this lesson, we'll be reviewing data from the most well-known streaming services in the market, Netflix. So our data is collected about the movies and TV shows which you can watch on 2021 platform Netflix. Now Netflix tends to change their movies and TV shows very often. So it is vital to keep in mind that the last update from our data was done on the 18th of July in 2021. We got our data from the website Kaggle. Now you're always more than welcome to go and visit this website and download the files from there too. Remember, you can always import them and make them dynamic as they are in your Excel spreadsheet. I will always encourage you to practice within your free time. The more you practice, the better you become at using your advanced skill set. But let's not wait any longer. Let's jump over to Excel and see this all in action. So when we first start looking at all of this data, it may look very unorganized and extremely confusing. But there's no need to worry. We're going to apply formatting to these files and they will look a lot better. So the file which you are currently seeing is more likely what you'll be seeing when you're working with real-life data. So let's start by selecting the headings and making them bold. This may make it a little bit easier for us to identify what each column is all about. So here we have 13 columns. We can see the ID, title, description, director, and so on. But now I'd like you to pay attention to the IMDb score. Do you know what this means? This is a score which is voted on by the IMDb registered users. They can cast their votes on every released movie which is given within the database. The rating is from 1 to 10. 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. The average votes are then summarized into a single rating, and this rating will be visible on their page. But now have you seen that there's some movies or TV shows that don't have a rating at all? Did you know that a movie or a TV show needs a minimum amount of votes in order for there to be a score? Now remember, as we said, it is vital for you to understand all your data. So for example, if you do not know what an IMDb score is, it is vital that you go do some research or even ask a creator. Make sure that you are not ignoring any of the data which you are working with, as it may be relevant to your results. And if you don't understand it, your reports may be incorrect. But now if we press Ctrl, Shift and the down arrow, we can see that there's 5,968 TV shows and movies on this platform. So this is a lot of information. To make our lives a lot easier, we can always apply our filters. By adding filters, we can choose what we need to see from the drop-down list. And this will allow us to review our data more efficiently. So another great way of also making more sense of our data is by adding a few conditional formats. So let's say we're going to go over and we want to choose the top 10 latest released movies. So we go to conditional formatting, we have our top or bottom rules. Here we can select the top 10 items And of course, we can choose exactly how we would like to format them. You can fill it with a green, a yellow, or a red. Alternatively, you can always use your custom format. So for this example, we're just going to fill it with yellow. But now, as you can see, as you're scrolling down, it is still a lot of information to look through. So this will show us all the shows which are in 2021. So let's say, for example, we want to see the shows which are released in 2020. So we can go back to our conditional formatting and you can select a new rule. You can say format the cells that contain, and of course, we want the equals to amount. Here we select 2020. Selecting our format, this time we can choose our very own color, let's say purple, and click OK. Click OK again, and it will once again give us a color of all the different shows within 2020. Now, instead of choosing the different colors, we can also choose different options from our drop-down list. So for example, we're looking for the movies or TV shows which were produced in Italy. Once we have selected our filters, click OK, and it will show you all the results found within the movies from Italy. But now bear in mind, some of the TV shows and the movies were not only made in Italy, they were also made in the United States, Argentina, United Kingdom, and so on and so forth. Another option is that you can manually select exactly what you're looking for. So as you're selecting the different options, you can deselect those options that include other countries as well, if you're specifically only looking for Italy. But that's entirely up to you. So now that we've selected all the movies which are in Italy, let's see which are the most popular directors. So once again, we can select on our directors. This time we go into our conditional formatting, we go to New Rule. Here we can select the format which is unique or duplicate values. So for this example, we want to see which are the most popular directors. So we want to have the duplicate values. Selecting your format, click your color, click OK, and OK again. So in this example, we can see the directors which have directed more than one of the movies which were made in Italy. And of course, we can do exactly the same with unique values too. This will help us to start summarizing our information. But now, did you know that even if you remove your filters, your conditional formatting will still stay the same? But now, just looking at the data, we can see there's a variety of colors, and if you're not too sure what's going on, you can always go to your conditional formatting and manage your rules. Here you can see either your current selection or the rules which are within the worksheet. They will show you exactly which rule has been applied to which color. So this makes your life a lot easier. And remember, in your conditional formatting rules manager, you're always able to edit the different rules to change them according to how you would like your formatting to be. Remember, it is your data which you're working with, and you're the one that's more than likely to create the report. So you need to understand exactly what your colors are representing, what your formats are representing, as well as the different filters which you've applied. Once you've analyzed all your data, you will get the results which you're looking for. But we'll look at this in a little bit more detail in just a moment. Before we move on, let's have a look at formulas. So it's time for us to use some of our formulas. Imagine you're at dinner with your friends on a weekend, and all of you have Netflix. And now you're talking about movies which you have watched. So you choose to create a list of the movies that you have not watched and the movies which your friends have recommended. You decide to use exactly that same Excel spreadsheet. This will help you to sort through your data. But before we go into a little bit more detail, it's time for a little bit of trivia. What is the syntax for the if formula? So the if formula runs a logical test which returns values which are a true result, if they are present. Otherwise, they will return a false result. So the formula will be equals to if, what you're looking for, the first value, and then you can close your brackets. The if function can also be combined with logical functions such as and or. This all helps you to extend your logical test. But now what about the if error? The if error function returns a custom result for the formula, and it will generate an error message, but it also generates a standard result if no error has been detected. If error is an elegant way to trap and manage all your errors without using more complicated nested if statements. So our syntax for if error is equals to if error, value, and your value if error. And now what about the syntax for the AND function? The AND function is a logical function which requires more than one condition at a time. The AND will also return either true or false. So this means that the syntax is equals to and logical 1 and logical 2. Now remember, logical 1 is the first condition or the logical value which you are wanting to evaluate. And logical 2 is the second condition or the second logical value you want to evaluate. And our last recap. Our VLOOKUP function is a function to look up different pieces of data when an Excel table is nice and organized. But remember, VLOOKUP function looks at a vertically organized table. So this means that your syntax is equal to VLOOKUP, open brackets, your value, your table, which column you're looking in, and of course, you can add the additional information of your range lookup too. Now that we've gone through a few more formulas, let's go back to Excel and see some of them in action. So as we said, imagine you had dinner with your friends and now you're trying to choose the movies which you think will be best. So we'll start by arranging the movies which were released before the date 2020. And you can do this by using the if function. So we'll start off by creating a new column saying if, as this will be our if function. You can also create a personalized message for those movies which are released after 2022. Now this message could be watch, or you can have another personalized message stating discard or don't watch, depending what you would like. So here we go, equals to your if function. We'll open our brackets and we want to look within the release date of H2. We want to make sure that it's greater than or equal to 2020. We'll put in our semicolon. Remember, if we want to watch it, it will be greater than 2020. Close your inverted commas, semicolon again. And of course, we want to disregard it if we don't want to watch it, if it's anything before 2020. Close our brackets and press OK. And as you may already know, Excel makes our lives a lot easier and we can drag and drop it all the way down. Here we can easily identify which movies we should watch and which movies we should disregard. Now the next thing we'd like to do is to use our if-NA function as well as our if-error functions. So these functions are typically used when there is gaps within the data. Now if we're looking at the different scores, Excel may have a hard time seeing the different scores when they are in this format. So therefore, we'll select on our column, press Ctrl H, and this will give us the find and replace dialog. So we want to find all the dash 10s and replace them with nothing. So therefore, we'll say replace all, and it will tell us how many replacements it's made. Once we're satisfied, we click OK, and we can click close. So now, of course, we want to use the if-NA function. So we'll type in equals to if-NA, we'll open our brackets. First, we'll start with M2 because that's already where we know there's empty data, as well as in our scores, and then we'll close our brackets and click OK. Now, as we can see, if there is data missing, it will give us a 0. If we drag and drop it all the way down, we can see where there are certain dates. Now, the if-error function works very similarly. So we'll say equals to if-error. Once again, we'll select M2, semicolon, our scores, and close our brackets and press OK. With this, we should see exactly the same results. And as you can see, it's quite correct. Remember, if there is information missing, you're more than welcome to display your certain message. So you could say no date or no score. So for our next example, we want to filter out all the movies which were produced in the United States. Now, a great way to do this is to use the AND function. So what we'll do is we'll say equals to and, open your brackets, Of course, we first want to select the production country, and this needs to be equals to, inverted commas, United States, inverted commas once again, semicolon, and we want to make sure that they're movies, so this means we select L2, and L2 then needs to be equal to, open your inverted commas, movies, close them, and close your brackets once again, and click OK. You can click and drag your formula all the way down, and it will tell you whether it is going to be true or false. Now, similar to the AND function, we can also use the OR function, and this will help us to highlight specific data. This data needs to match our filters. So here we'll say equals to your OR function, open your brackets, we want the date of 2020 is either greater than or equal to 2020, then we want our semicolon, and we want to say that K2 has a greater than or equal to rating of 7, close our brackets and press OK. Here we'll see whether it is true or false, so meaning that either the movie is newer than the year of 2020 or it has a higher rating than 7, because of course, these are the movies that you'd want to go see. But now what's different between the AND or the OR function is that the OR function means that either one or the other needs to be true in order to get the true reading. So this is quite opposite to the AND function, because remember, the AND function is searching for both values, and both values need to be true in order to get true. Now let's say that you have a movie ID and you're trying to look for the description of that movie. Now for our next formula, we're going to be using the VLOOKUP filter. So let's choose a few different IDs of the shows. Now we don't know exactly what the names of these shows are going to be. So of course we want to use the VLOOKUP function to find out what the name is, because simply just having an ID like this might be very confusing. And if you are speaking with your friends at the dinner table, I'm sure 99% of them won't know what the different IDs for the different movies are. So here we have 3 different movies. So let's use our VLOOKUP formula. So we'll start by saying equals to, of course we're looking for the VLOOKUP, then we'll open our brackets, and we need to select exactly what we're looking for. So we need to make sure that we get that name exactly correct. From there, we'll go into our semicolon, and we need to select the entire table. Now we want to select the entire table, so that will be A1, colon, can you remember, all the way from M, 5,968, as you can see on the red line there, it selects the table which we're looking for. Close our semicolon. We want to make sure that we're looking in the second row, as that's where our titles are located. Semicolon once again, and we want an exact match, so we'll write false. Once we're happy with our information, we can click OK. Now you can see over there, it produces the title of the different movie according to that ID. Once again, you can drag and drop your formula all the way down, and it will tell you the different titles according to the IDs. And remember, you can do this with the descriptions too. But bear in mind, if a friend is describing a movie, you may not be able to have the exact description as found within your table. So rather try find the exact description, and that way you'll be able to find the movie too. So now with all of this data, you can easily see how you can rank the different movies, choosing maybe the top 10, or maybe the date which it was released. There's so many different options, so next time you're sitting at that dinner table with your friends, you can really impress them by simply using an Excel spreadsheet. But now this brings us to our last formula for today, and this is the offset function. So the offset function shows us the reference to a range, which is specified by a number of rows and columns. This is specified from a cell or a range of cells. It can be a single cell or a whole range. This makes it nice and simple to be able to specify the number of rows and columns which are returned. But let's have a look at the syntax. So here you can see the offset function is a reference, rows, columns, height and width, but height and width are optional. Now the reference is a required field, as it refers to the references which you would like to base your offset from. It needs to have a reference of a cell or a range of adjacent cells. If it does not, then you will get the hashtag value error. The rows are also a required field. This is the number of rows which you'd like to use from the upper left cell. The rows can either be up or down. For example, if we use 2 for the argument for the rows, it specifies that it will be 2 below the reference cell. Now rows can also be negative, which means that they will be above, or positive, which means they'll be below. Columns are the number of columns which you'd like to move either left or right. So this means that if columns are negative, they'll be to the left, or if they're to the right, they'll be positive. Height is an optional argument, and it refers to the height in terms of the number of rows which you'd like to be returned to the reference. It needs to be a positive number. Width is also optional and it refers to the number of columns which you'd like to be returned. But now to understand this more clearly, let's jump straight back over to Excel. So you and your friends at the dinner table once again. But this time, it doesn't really matter what the rating is or how good the movie was. You want to create a list of your top 10 movies. And it's entirely up to you. Whatever the names or whatever the titles, it is your favorite. So now we have our list here and we're going to say top 10. But now, of course, you don't want to be scrolling through all the different titles to try find the names in order to select all the different information parts too. So what we can simply do is create a drop-down list. Select on the cell where you'd like your drop-down list to be, go to the Data tab in your ribbon, and go to Data Validation. When you click on Data Validation, you'll have your settings, your input message, or an error alert. With our input settings, we want to choose our data from a list. And of course, we have our source readily available. So our source will be from our list of Netflix. Now remember, you do have your function, Control, Shift, and the down arrow, which will select all the titles. Once you're satisfied, click OK. Once you've clicked OK, you'll see your list appearing here. So it's a nice and easy way for you to be able to select the titles and have your top 10. But now as we can see, not all the cells have the drop-down list. So you can simply click and drag, go back to data validation. But a pop-up screen will appear. This pop-up screen will tell you the selection contains some cells without data validation settings. Would you like to extend your data validation settings? And of course, we're going to say yes. Once we say yes, we can make sure that that source is correct and click OK. Once you've clicked OK, you will have exactly the same list appear, and here you and your friends can pick your top 10. But now let's say, for some or other reason, Netflix has updated their information. When they updated the list of movie titles, then they've added a few more movies. So for our example, they added Star Wars, and let's say Harry Potter 2. Now, as you can see, if we go back to our sheet, we will not be able to see Star Wars or Harry Potter within our list. Now, this is a little bit of the unfortunate part about these lists. Excel does not make it easy for us to search the lists. So you need to make sure that you do know your alphabet fairly well in order to make sure that you find your title. But that's not the point right now. So as we've said, there's 2 more movies added and we're not able to find them, and we really want them to be in our top 10. So what you can do here is once again go change your data validation. So by clicking on data validation, we can change the source. And this time we're going to be using what we call our offset function. But now as we're typing in equals offset, we can see that our little helper is not appearing on the screen. But there's no need to worry, we can always copy and paste the formula. So let's go back to our Excel spreadsheet and type in the formula. That's going to make our lives a lot easier. So, to have our little helper, so we say equals to offset, we open our brackets, and of course, remember, our reference is going to be our title cell. So that will be B1. This is our address. We know that we don't want to move any rows, and of course, we don't want to move any columns either. So it will be 0, 0. Open your semicolons, and height is now where it's important. But remember, this can always change. So let's use our count A option. Open your brackets, click on the cell, Shift Control, select all the cells all the way down, close your brackets once again, and most importantly, remember we want to make sure that our title is not included. This means that we want to select -1, meaning they will move down from the title and it will not be included. This can always change. You can always say -3, -6, or however many extra titles there may be included. From there, you click OK. Once we click OK, you will see the list which appears over here. But of course, that's not exactly what we're looking for. So we can always copy the function, Control-C. Once we've copied the function, we can always go back to our list, back into our data validation, paste it once again, Control-V, and press OK. Now, once we've pasted it, we can see that Harry Potter, as well as our other Star Wars movie, has been added. This is a great way and an easy way to make sure that you are using dynamic tables nice and easily. Every time you update this data list, you'll be able to choose your favorite movies, and all together, you and your friends can choose your top 10. I hope this has made it a lot easier for you to be able to understand exactly how we can create lists and how the offset function works. So for your lesson challenge for today, I'd like you to go to the Kaggle website and choose a data set which you would like to work with. First, you can start off by applying all the conditional formatting, and once you're comfortable with that, go and apply the formulas. Have fun practicing, and I'll see you next time.